Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Varudikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Varudikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. Asamaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamhadiriyet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Anashta Praresha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Can someone get these curtains for me? Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Uh-oh. I made a mistake. I corrected a mistake that wasn't a mistake. Well, Va means or, but this is short for Vaha, you. And so we have to take that off. Anyway, my mistake on the mistake. So now I'm sorry? Can you just erase it? Sorry about that. Okay. Shows what I know. Okay. On this 20th day of May, 2020, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. Text number 27. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditang Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditang Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditang Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditang Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditam Vashtikir Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditam Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Tamara. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditam Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditam Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Before I read the synonyms, I want to apologize for accusing you of making another mistake. Va. I thought it must be Va, but it's actually Va for you. Shri Rudra Vacha Yuyam Vedishadak Putra Veditam Vashtikir Anugrahaya Bhadram Va Evam Me Darshanam Kritam. Shri Rudra Uvacha Lord Shiva began to speak. Yuyam, all of you, Vedishadaha, of King Prachina Barhi, Putraha, sons, Veditam, knowing, Vaha, your, Chikirshitam, desires, Anugrahaya, for the matter of showing you mercy, Bhadram, all good fortune unto you, Vaha, all of you, Evam, thus, me, my, Darshanam, audience, Kritam, you have done. Translation. Lord Shiva said, you are all the sons of King Prachina Barhi, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you. Purport. By these words, Lord Shiva indicates that what the princes were going to do was known to him. It is a fact that they were going to worship Lord Vishnu by severe austerities and penances. Knowing this fact, Lord Shiva immediately became very pleased, as apparent by the next verse. This indicates that a person who is not yet a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who desires to serve the Supreme Lord, receives the benedictions of the demigods, headed by the chief demigod, Lord Shiva. Thus, a devotee of the Lord does not need to try to please the demigods separately. Simply by worshipping the Supreme Lord, a devotee can please all of them. Nor does he have to ask the demigods for material benedictions. For the demigods, being pleased with the devotee, automatically offer him everything that he needs. The demigods are servants of the Lord, and they are always prepared to help a devotee in all circumstances. Therefore, Srila Bilvamangal Thakur said that if one has unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Lord, the goddess of liberation is ready to serve him, to say nothing of the gods of material opulences. Indeed, all the demigods are simply waiting for an opportunity to serve the devotee. Thus, there is no need for a devotee of Krishna to endeavor for material opulence or liberation. By being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he receives all the benefits of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Lord Shiva is now speaking, and in a few verses he'll begin his song, teaching them the song, the mantra which they will chant for thousands of years underwater for purification. And underwater they're going to get the darshan of Vishnu. And so it's quite exciting. So, first thing is that Shiva is very pleased. He's very pleased with these pachetas. He is omniscient. This is one of the qualities of Shiva that Shiva possesses that the living entities can't possess. You know, the 64 qualities of Krishna, and 50 of them we can also possess to a minute degree. But there are 5. The count is 50, 5, 5, and 4. So the first 5 that we cannot possess, Atta Panchagunesha Angshena Girisharasu Sada Swarupa Sampraptak Sarvagyo Nitya Nutanak Satchid Ananda Sandranga Sarva Siddhi Nishevita. These could be obtained or possessed, they are possessed by Lord Shiva, but not the living entities, the ordinary living entities. So, Sada Swarupa, he's always in his Swarup. Now, we may not see his original form, but this is, he doesn't have to strive in order to learn his specific relationship with Krishna. This is his eternal relationship. He's in his Shiva Tattva. He himself is his own Tattva. Sadasubha Sampraptak Sarvagyo. He knows everything. Now, I did a study of this idea of omniscience long ago. It's been 20 years ago now, when some devotees were claiming that Prabhupada is omniscient. And therefore, he knew all about the abuse going on in the Gurukuls, but he didn't stop it because of all this crazy reasons. So I had to make arguments about that. So in the course of doing it, I was studying this, and even it says Lord Shiva is omniscient, but Angshena. Now, Prabhupada, in his translation in the CC, Angshena means part. He's partially omniscient. Now, this is something you find in ISKCON, that, you know, if you were writing an 8th grade paper, you know, when you're using partially, well, that doesn't make sense. Because omniscient means all-knowing. It's like unique. This is a common mistake. He's very unique. Unique is unique. In other words, either it's unique or it's not unique. It's one of a kind or it's not one of a kind. It can't be very unique, but use it anyway. So you find these things, and most famously perfect, more perfect and most perfect. You know, the relationships with Krishna in Dwarka are perfect. But more perfect are the ones in Mathura, and even, you know, most perfect is one in Vrindavan, that kind of thing. So similarly, you have this with omniscient. He's omniscient, and this is what he's showing here. He already knew what they were going to do. This is why I'm bringing it up. He already knows. And therefore, he arranged it that they would meet him. And then he's going to speak this wonderful mantra, which they're going to chant for 10,000 years under the water. Mantra meaning like 30, 40 verses. So it's, a lot of things are going on here. I wish all good fortune for you. Now this is part of, in Prabhupada's purport, he makes the important point that the demigods are most pleased with a living entity when they worship Krishna. Not so much when they propitiate them so that they'll get enough rain or get benedictions, or Ganesh, please help my business, and all this and that. In other words, they're devotees of the Lord, and when they see another devotee of the Lord, they're most happy, rather than someone's come to them to ask some material benediction. It's not, there's no love there. There's no real affection. You're not a devotee of Shiva, really. You're worshipping him for a certain purpose. Most people who worship for a material purpose. So you can please them to a certain degree there, but it's nothing like what he's expressing here. And and in the next verse or the verse after it, it just says, "I'm really pleased with when I see a devotee." That's those who really please me. So this is directly ties in with this idea, both in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, which I mentioned before, but that's what this whole section is about, is worth mentioning again. The verse that directly deals with this, and conclusively in the Bhagavatam, and there's other places, but mostly is this yata taro mula nishecharena tripyanti tatskanda bhujo bhashaka prano bahara chayatendriyanam tatayava sarva halamachyuteja. Just as watering the root of the tree nourishes all of the branches and the twigs and the fruits and flowers, and just as feeding food to the stomach nourishes all the senses, similarly worshipping Vishnu pleases all the demigods. That's the point of the verse. That's the last line of the verse. So the conclusion is, don't worship anyone else but Krishna or Vishnu. That's the whole idea, and that's the whole import of the Bhagavatam. That's the whole. It's wholly and solely brings us to the point of worshiping Krishna and solely. That's all you need to do. Otherwise, there's no love. In other words, if you're hedging your bets and you think I'll worship Krishna, but I don't really. What's the principles of surrender? Let's review those now. Sharanagati. What is it? Anukulyena. Anyone who can chant with me who knows the verse? Anukulyena, Krishna Anukulyena sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshishyatiti vishwasko, goptridvevananangchita, atmanikshepvakarparne, shadvidha sharanagati. Thank you. I think it's good if we support each other in these verses. When we get older, you forget a little piece of it. Anyway, anukulyena sankalpa. So having the sankalpa, having the will, and the determination, that I will serve Krishna favorably. Whatever is favorable, I will accept. This is part of the austerity, part of the surrender. Because many of the things that are favorable are not like immediately pleasing to you. As soon as if you join the ashram, you say, oh boy, got to do this, got to do this. This is why there's only 8 of us here. So, but that's the first part. And the next part is the obverse of that. Pratikulyasya varjanam, to reject those things which are against or unfavorable for devotional service. Now that in itself can take a lifetime or lifetimes to come to that point, but that's an essential part of it. So then there's this one, rakshishyati vishwas gopta dvevadanam tata. So rakshishyati means convinced that Krishna will protect in all circumstances. You can see what a surrender that is, because that's a big part of material life. Trying to fend off the threats. You have all these strategies, now that there's all of this social discord and the society itself is it going to survive? Are we going to have a major depression here? There's 40 million people out of work. Are we going to have food riots? Maybe we should buy a gun. Did anyone go buy a gun? There's a lot of people buying guns. They're lining up. Yeah. Because I got to protect myself. It's really illusory. They've done studies that in homes that have guns, there's more accidents. There's more people get shot by accident. If you have a little suicidal impulse, boom, you can easily do it. If there's nothing around, all right, I'll take a pill. You can survive. The homes with guns are more likely to be successful in the suicide. Anyway, So, but devotees, there may be a point at which guns are necessary, but it's not that we all have to individually go and buy a gun, And then, Goptradve, maintenance. Yeah, you remember the verse? And some of you may know this verse. You can all chant together. Ananyas chintayan ananya chetak satatam yomam smari nityasa tasyam zubam. No, that's in the 8th chapter. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana payupasate tesham nitya vivaktanam yoga kshema bahamyaham. This yoga kshema is important to understand what it means, because it comes up again and again. Yoga in this context means those things that you need to connect with to maintain yourself. These are the necessities of life. Kshema is security, welfare, security from danger, protection. Those two things make, material life possible. If you don't have yoga kshema, you can't live, You may have yoga, but if you don't have kshema, if you're under threat, there's a terrorist and all these things, then you can't have a peaceful life. So here in this verse, Krishna says, those who fix their mind on me one-pointedly, ananyas chintayan, ananyas means without other consciousness, ye jana payupasate, they worship me, tesham nitya viyuktanam, they're always linked to me in yoga. I personally carry what they need, what they need, and preserve what they have. This preserving is the welfare, protection, and the carrying what they have, that's the yoga. So that's what these two are about, Rakshasatiti and Goptradve. Maintenance and protection. So having faith that Krishna will protect, and that Krishna will maintain, this is a big part of Sharanagati. And Atma Nikshepa Karpanye, to have no separate interest from the Lord and to be meek and humble. These are the other two aspects of Sharanagati. They're, essential for advancing in bhakti. That's the doorway that leads into devotional service. So here we find that Lord Shiva. Now the demigods, they provide the necessities. There's a rain god, there's an air god, there's a sun god. All these things are essential for life. So I mean you may have noticed, they call it climate change. But what it is a slow motion. The demigods are withholding or giving too much of the necessities. The disruptions are caused by a lot of sinful activity. You remember we read about Prithu? How the first thing he did was had to get on the case of the Mother Earth, like the cow, because there wasn't enough grain, there wasn't enough maintenance. And she said, I did it because there were so many demons. She was withheld, So that, you can see climate change. That's part of what's going on with that. Is all these, these extinction of so many animals and plants and insects that form part of the big balance of nature that make it possible to live. So that's, and you can see this pandemic is that too. This is a natural event, that was unforeseen, but is causing huge disruption in people's lives. So the demigods are not pleased. Mother Nature is not pleased, and all kinds of things are coming due. But the devotees, we take this well. All we can do is intensify our devotional service, try to continue to preach, and hope that people will learn from this. One of the things to learn is that life is on a knife edge, isn't it? What is that analogy that's like a little drop on a lotus leaf in a river? It's very tenuous. This is part of Maya's trick, to give you a situation so you think that, I got it together, things are going to go along more or less nicely, But here Maya is giving us a lesson, the whole world. No, don't take anything for granted. Now, of course, they're reacting in all kinds of crazy ways, but still, it's an opening for people to, it's a possibility more people be ready to receive what we're giving, which is the solution, Krishna consciousness. When things get shaken up, I mean, that's part of what the 60s were about. There was a big cultural earthquake, and nothing was sure, And within that context, there were certain people who were intelligent, had not completely wrecked their minds with drugs yet, and who were open to, what Prabhupada was giving, and they became the pioneers who then helped Prabhupada spread the movement. So I wanted to focus on this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is the four purusharthas, in a civilization, a human civilization. These are necessary. Even the first one, right? Because the dharma. Without dharma, there's animal life. That verse from the Hitopadesh. What is that? Dharma hina pashabhi samana. That's the line. Yeah, dharma hina. So dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are called the four purusharthas. But what did Lord Chaitanya give? The fifth goal, the fifth purushartha. Yeah, prema pumarto mahan. This word artha is the purushartha. Something valuable, something essential is called an artha. So we're looking for not just artha but svarta. Puma is short for pungsa, means human being, goal of human life. It's part of that longer verse of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So let's look at this now in the context of the second chapter, first canto, where each of them is dealt with and showing how ultimately they lead to bhakti. So the question was, what is that dharma, the stages of Naimisharanya, where the living entity can become completely satisfied, supersedity, right? So Shonagrishi, he congratulates the sages, Muniyak Saru Prishtaham, very nice question. And then the next verse he gives key answer. Savai Pungsang Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Arhokshaje Ahaitukya Patayata Yayatma Supersedity. Now this verse alone, of course, we could extrapolate it for a whole class. But just to summarize, immediately he's saying that dharma is not just meant for artha. Real dharma, the supreme dharma, is that which leads to, which evokes devotional service unto Arhokshaja. Now it's significant that he uses this name. He doesn't say Govinda, he doesn't say Radharaman. He says Arhokshaja, which is a name for God that means, and I use the word God rather than Krishna in this case because it's a general name for God, which is beyond the range of our material mind and senses. Adha Akshaja. Akshaja is knowledge that's produced from the senses, chiefly the eyes. In other words, the ascending process. Scientific knowledge. But Adha means down. In other words, he pushes it all down. He defeats that. He's beyond the range of any kind of knowledge you can achieve in that way. So, that is the supreme dharma that evokes or leads to bhakti Arhokshaja, devotional service to Arhokshaja, to God, which is characterized by a hoituki and a pratiyata. This is the Bhagavatam. A hoituki without any material motivation. You're not praying to God for any wealth or anything, or even for mukti. And then it's uninterrupted. It's not once a week, it's not twice a day, it's 24 hours that leads to that. That alone can bring full satisfaction to the soul. Which is, we're in an alien land here. We're exiles, we're in prison. We don't want to get to a better cell in the prison. We don't want to get privileges with the warden. We want out. And we don't just want out, we want back home to God, which includes it. So it begins with dharma, Then, so then he says, continues with that, that renunciation follows directly from that, and knowledge. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayira Hoitikam. By practicing real dharma, and which leads to bhakti, and practicing the bhakti, then what's the benefit? Renunciation and knowledge. Now the value of, these are invaluable to get, and they go together. Real knowledge leads to renunciation. Without knowing that sense gratification is so bad for you, why would you renounce it? You'll try another variety of sense gratification. Oh, that one didn't work, let me try this. But when you realize that all of it is bad, that's real knowledge, then you make an effort to really become seriously renounced. So I'd like to give you an example. Many of you have heard it, but you haven't heard it before. But it works. Madhusudan Prabhu is in town. He lives here. We're very fortunate to have him and his wife here. It's a real blessing of the temple. And every time the Vyasa Puja comes, the last 3-4 years, he makes this wonderful sweet rice. He's really got it down, with blueberry sweet rice, strawberry sweet rice, whatever it is. And so, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but anyway. So,
when it comes time, now just visualize the situation. He's made the sweet rice, the devotees are expecting it, and it's coming out, and there's four lines, and we're ready to serve it out. And Madhusudan comes running out of the kitchen. Right? Now everyone is visualizing, they remember the sweet rice from yesteryear, and they say this is going to be the pinnacle of the whole feast, And just when they're about ready to start serving out, he runs out of the kitchen, making a whole thing out of it. And he said, wait, I'm so sorry, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I put salt in instead of sugar this year. I just made this terrible mistake, I was spacing it. Now, the knowledge that is for the salt, suddenly that you become very renounced from the sweet rice, isn't it? That knowledge produces renunciation. So how much, of Prabhupada's preaching in the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, are trying to convince us, and by telling us the knowledge that this sense gratification leads to misery, it leads to another birth. Nunam pramatta kurodev. You have to be crazy, says Rishabdev, to simply act for sense gratification. Literally he uses the word sense gratification. Indriya priti. Nunam pramatta kurodev vikarma yadindriya pritiya apanoti. Practicing, vicious activities in order to achieve sense gratification. He says it's crazy because you're sure to get another body, and the worst body probably, for more suffering. So if you believe that, if you take the knowledge, this is Rishabdev, a incarnation of God, and Prabhupada has given us, and he's my spiritual master. Okay, I'm going to try the best to give up sense. You see how it gives you the basis to renounce. Otherwise, all you got is these endless allurements to try to enjoy different varieties of sense gratification. Oh yeah, that was I used to be a drug addict, but now I got over that. Now I just like classical music. It's just a different variety of a drug. Ultimately, it still brings you back to material another birth. You see. So that's in there, and that's the next verse. Then he warns Dharmax. What is it? Yeah, Dharmax sonasitak pungsam vishraksena katasya. That whatever dharma you have, here's how you measure if it's really the dharma that's bringing you to perfection and going to completely satisfy the soul, which is after all the whole idea. If you're not getting more interested to hear about Krishna, there's a name here, Vishraksena, then it's shrama evi kevalam. Bhagavatam doesn't mince words. It's totally useless. You may have some fancy, program that you have that's, making you more, whatever, limber, or you're increasing your intelligence. But if it's not making you more attracted to hear the Bhagavatam, then it's a waste of time. So it's still on Dharma here. Now, what about Artha? So then he says, Dharmasya yapavarkasya. Dharma is meant for liberation. In other words, that's liberation in the sense of mukti hitanyata rupam, which we'll get to in a minute. It's not meant for artha. Dharmasya yapa narto tayo pakalpate. And whatever artha you get in the course of your dharma, artha sa dharma kantasa kamo labha. He says, don't use it for sense gratification. Here's the kama. Dharma artha kama. In other words, he's blowing apart the usual logic of dharma artha kama emotion. We'll be very religious, and then we'll prosper. The Protestant ethic. We'll go to very strictly to church every year, every week, and then we'll be able to prosper and what do they call it? Prosperity theology or something like that. Huge churches. No, that's not it. It's not meant for that. The Dharma is not meant for artha, and whatever artha you happen to get from your Dharma, don't use it for sense gratification. So then what do we use? So what do we do with all of these material desires? Kamasya nendriya pritir. The material desire is not meant just for sense gratification. Kamasya nendriya pritir, labho jiveta yavata. Live as simply as possible to keep the body and soul together. This is labho jiveta yavata means as much as needed. Kamas and then labho jiveta jivasya. Then what should I live for? If I'm not living for sense gratification. Jivasa tatra jigyasa. Does it ring a bell? Where does that? That's the first verse, first sutra. The Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And of course the obvious thing is the very first words, janmasya yataha. But here, you have the second sutra being echoed. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. I'm sorry, that's the first sutra. And the second sutra is in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Very beginning. Janmadhyasya yadonvaya. Janmadhyasya yataha. So, jivasya tattva jigyasa. One should live, the main goal of one's human life should be to inquire into the absolute truth. Jivasya tattva jigyasa nato yasya karma bhi. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. So here we've already covered in a few verses dharma, artha, and kama. Now what about moksha? Well, here he mentioned that dharma should lead to moksha. But what is moksha? We find that in the second canto. There's like a table of contents, chapter 10. There's 10 subjects in the Bhagavatam. And one of them is mukti. Very important subject. What is real mukti? Who can give me that phrase? Muktir hit. Wait. Swarupena bhavastiti. Swarup. Yes, Swarup Siddhi. In other words, mukti is not just mukti. The word itself is a negative. It means you're getting free. You're getting free from what? Birth, old age, disease, and death. But that's not the end of it. That's just a very crippled understanding of mukti. And if that's all you're searching for in your dharma, then that's also kaitava dharma. Mukti is we see I read this in a very illuminating purport, which I forget where, but I can find that. We say, well, I don't know anything about mukti. Yes, you do. Mukti really means the ultimate effort to relieve yourself of all suffering. Who isn't doing that? Not just human beings, every single living entity with any kind of consciousness. Some tree may not even know what's going on. But some ants, or some bird, some animal, they all have some strategy. It may be innate, it may be some instinct, to escape from suffering, to escape from enemies, right? To keep warm, Yeah, the bears are hibernating, but they do it in a certain way that they don't freeze to death, right? To bury themselves. In other words, that's the impetus for mukti in its seed form, and the ultimate freedom will be complete freedom from birth and death. But if that's your only motive, it's a form of kama, as Prahlad Maharaj says, prayena deva munayo swava mukti kama. It's obvious. My own mukti. I'm lusty for my own mukti, and the result is, to hell with everyone in the cities. I'm going off to the Himalayas and the cave, so I can get liberated. That's what he says in the next line. Maunam chadanti. They don't say anything. They're silent. Vijane, without people. They go to the place where there's no people. Napararta nishta, not being determined at all to help others. And of course Prahlad says, I'm not like that. And Prabhupada gives, I don't know if it's in the translation of the purport, he says, I'm going to stay in the busy cities and help, because I don't see, he's praying to Nrsingadev, I don't see anyone else but you who can help them really to attain the perfection of life. So I have to give them you. That's the implication. In other words, to preach. So the mukti is there in the process of the apavargasya. It's not meant for anything but mukti. And the definition of mukti as given is to be free of birth and death, but to be situated in one's own form, one's own nature. And you don't have to wait to go back to Gaia to do that. And that means attaining all the qualities of a devotee. Which means not only to be free of misery and be blissful in Krishna consciousness, but to be empathetic to all the other souls. And without that, then you're not really a sadhu. What's the famous verse? Titikshava, karunika, suridak sarvadehinam, ajata shaptavakshan sadhavaksadu. Suridak sarvadehiman means the friend of all living beings. That means preaching. So, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Here he says, he receives all the benefits of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. One is situated in transcendental devotional service. So that's what we read repeatedly in different ways, in different contexts in the Srimad Bhagavatam. King Prithu was like that, great devotee, empowered incarnation, empowered jiva, and at the end there is this wonderful saga of him going back to Godhead. But he worked so hard, to help the earth, the people in the earth, to become Krishna conscious. He has these wonderful meeting with the Kumaras. Remember that, the instructions of the Kumaras? this is what, the Bhagavatam kind of sets us up. Every time there's, it's one meeting after another, and there's always a discourse. The great souls, or Shiva himself here is going to be speaking and giving us more wonderful subject matter for repeating and meditating on and helping us get back to Godhead. So I have a conference call at 9, so I'll have to end now. Let me read this. Half hour away. I know, but I have to get ready for it. Lord Shiva said, "You are all the sons of King Prachanabarhi, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you." So he arranged it, and now he's going to consummate it with his wonderful gift of this song. Go ahead.
Bhumi was holding back the grains and other foodstuffs because there were so many demoniac kings. There's a lot more now. Why is it not being withheld now?
Maybe. We always have to remember that time, we're looking for our own time frame. Well, what's happening now? Well, all over the world, people are there's a lot of food shortage. There's millions of people who don't have enough food in this world. And what's unusual and what may be very dramatic, and is that in the wealthy countries, suddenly there won't be enough. We're so helpless here. If Vons is out and Traders is out and Sprouts is out and Ralph's is out, we're dead. Are we going to grow something? Are we going to start growing some grain out here? Yeah, we got a farm, but it's not instantaneous. The point is that nobody knows. We could all go up there, maybe all 5 of us. Maybe it'll support. But what happened with the mass of people? All of a sudden in SanDiego, they've been talking about that. This crazy virus is causing all kinds of disruptions in the supply lines of everything. So it may not happen exactly on our time frame. But all of these incredible weather events, if you really study it, you look at the imminent. Have you ever thought of or read about the so-called permafrost that's melting? It's going to be released. Methane, which is 100 times more of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, and it comes up in big bubbles. It's a sudden thing. And it can create extreme weather conditions. It comes from the frozen earth that's been frozen for hundreds or more years, like all in the Russian Arctic. It's huge, Siberia, frozen earth. But that contains all of this foliage that's died, and all the carbon is in there. But in the course of years, it produces this stuff called methane, which is more or less what we burn on the stove. But it's trapped in there. But if it comes out all at once, then it can increase the greenhouse gases tremendously, suddenly, within a year or so. And suddenly it'll be too hot. I mean, I read about if it gets over 90 degrees and it's 90% humidity, which in some places of the earth it becomes unlivable. You can't live there. Human beings cannot live under those. There's a certain thing they measure. And what happens to those human beings? They all start moving. They're not going to just sit there and fry. There's big refugees. Even now, there's refugees everywhere. In other words, things can get pretty hairy pretty quickly. So just be patient. You'll see. Earth is doing its thing. Yeah. But the amazing thing is, this coronavirus thing has shut down so much industry that there's like 17% less carbon dioxide, being emitted now. This is, unfortunately, when the economy starts going again, it'll be dirty again. But the air is a lot cleaner. Yeah, there's nobody on the highway. Anyway, any other question, comment? All right, let's end with one thing sweet. I'm going to give you a sweet verse because I do have time. It's 1 minute. And that is, I already did the Radhe Naman, which I did change a little bit. Maybe you didn't notice it. But here's a nice one. This one is a good, it was mentioned about holding onto the rope in that slideshow. Right, you had that query about the rope, So there's a verse about that. Rupa Goswami writes, Manasijapani jushte labdhapatos mi dushte Timadaghana rupe hanta sansara kupe Ajita Nikala Dakshahe Tamudara Daksham Upanaya Mamahaste Bhakti Rajum Namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. Hare Krishna. There you go. You got it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare